Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing today? Welcome, welcome officially to another Wednesday AMA. Hope you guys can see me and hear me okay. Do me a favor and let me know in the chat. You should also see my face. You guys should see my screen. Everything should be up for you guys. Let me know. That would be great. Open the questions box here. So today I'm not calling in from my office, kind of different setup today. So just want to make sure that everything's working appropriately before I get the AMA started and videos messed up, audio's messed up, and everything else in between. Derek Drummond, what's up, brother? Derek says, hey, loud and clear. Fantastic, fantastic, good stuff. All right. So today, actually, what was it? Yesterday. So yesterday, I went and worked out in the middle of the day before a webinar that I had yesterday. So I think the webinar was at 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and I went and worked out first. I came back to the office, and Usman, my right hand, was like, "Dude, do not go in there." Apparently, next door to our office, the office right next door to ours, their sewage was backed up, and it was not so polite. It was not so pleasant. Yeah. So he's like, dude, don't go in there. He's like, I got you. He like quite literally turned around, ran upstairs, like packed his bag, packed my bag, threw the laptops together, right, and like we hightailed it out of there. And so yeah, it quite literally smells like shit. So not sure how long that's going to take or what's really happening there at the moment. Thankfully, right, don't have to be there. So today working from a co-working spot called Venture X, and I'm in like one of their little cubby holes, so to speak. So this door opens up into a nice big hallway here, and so I've been working from here today, which has actually been cool. A little change of pace, something different. I don't know that I could do it forever, obviously, but it was cool. Nice big open space, lots of new people that I've never met before. I'm pretty sure that I probably have already landed three, if not probably four customers, just by being here though today. Right? That's pretty crazy. Frankie says, I work in a place like that. So people are like, hey, you're new. I haven't seen you around before here. And the director, hey, how can I help? What do you do? And just introducing myself. Here's what I do. Here's what's going on. Have opened the doors to quite a few really good and really interesting relationships. And folks at the end of the day, like not even trying. So that's cool. And ultimately, today has been a reminder to me that like too often, like we're, me included, guilty of, right, like being in our shell and so focused on what we're doing today and tomorrow that we forget to look up and look around us, right? So I'm sure that the relationships here, from the relationships started today alone, are worth thousands of dollars a month to my bottom line. So pretty crazy. Greatness that spills over. Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, life is about people. Life is about helping people. Life is about, I believe, giving more than you take, right? And so I think if you lead with that, you'll always do well. Jamie says, how do you describe what you do other than, hey, I'm the Joe Troyer? So Jamie, like that may mean something to you, right? Like I'm the Joe Troyer, but that doesn't mean anything to anybody else, right? Like I'm just a regular quote unquote dude or a regular guy to everybody else outside of our little circle and our little space. So for me, I'm challenged, Jamie, when I'm asked what I do, because I think probably like most of you guys, it's like, do I tell a person this? Do I say I run a marketing agency? Do I say I do this type of marketing? Like, what do I say that's appropriate? And I can tell you, Jamie, right now, what I've really been talking about and what I've been telling people, what I describe myself as when people ask me, who I am, what do I do, is I've been leading with Omni. I've been leading with Omni targeting and the retargeting pitch. So I quite literally say I do, and run advertising campaigns that make every other advertising more effective. And people's looks on their faces are just like, huh, what? Right? And it's just a great door opener. And I'm just trying to get attention, and it's working. It's working really, really well. So right now, that's my favorite. That's my favorite for sure. Good stuff. So with that being said, today I did not come prepared. This is my second webinar. Quite literally, shit got in the way. Quite literally, right? Shit got in the way. So today we're going to do kind of just an on-the-fly session for all of you guys joining me. And I'm happy to help you guys in any way that I can today. I've scheduled today, like every week, to be here from 3 to 4. So I have another 50 minutes or so to hang out with you guys. And so, like, my question back to you, right? Austin, Derek, Frankie, George, Jamie, Jason, Jetty, John, Mark, Philip, Rodney, Stephen, Thomas, and William, right? Like, there's only a handful of you guys on here. How can I help you guys today? Right? Like, I have the time, right? My one-on-one coaching costs a lot of money. You don't have to pay that. You got me right here, right now. I'm all yours. And there's really only like 16 or 15 or 16 of you guys on the call. So how can I help you guys? Frankie, Derek, Jamie, everybody that's active in the chat, how can I help you? And everybody else on the call. So I'll give you guys a second to think about that. And we'll go from there. What's up, Jamie? Jamie says, I'm building my Omni funnels right now. Just figured I'd suck up some wisdom while I worked, multitasking. All right, good stuff. So Jamie, I'm sure you were on the Agency Growth Vortex Pro members call today, where we were setting up the funnels. Good stuff. If you have any questions or maybe clarifying questions as you're going through and multitasking and working, setting those up, listening to me, let me know. Happy to help. Let's see, Derek says, wow, give me a minute to come up with it. Yeah, man, happy to help. Jamie Ferrero or Ferro. Jamie, am I saying your last name right? Ferro, is that right? Ferro. It's about time I get your name right, right? Don't want to keep butchering it. Like iron. Ferro. All right, Frankie, I see your question in here. Happy to help you with that. Frankie, let me pause my screen and actually see if I can pull up my outreach campaign. So Frankie's asking about sponsor posts and guest posts pitching to mommy bloggers. I can just share some stats with you if I can figure out my login, if that would be helpful. And we can kind of walk through there and I can share what's working now there. So guys, again, this Q&A is going to be based on you, this AMA session. You guys have the opportunity over the shoulder, ask me anything. How can I help? Let me know if we don't go an hour today. It is what it is. I won't be upset, but I've scheduled an hour for you guys. I'm going to turn off screen sharing for just a second so I can look, try to log into my outbound email campaign for my mommy blogs. Hang on a second. I'll wait for some other questions to come in the meantime. Also, Frankie, I got you, brother. Frankie says, thanks, Joe. You're very welcome, man. Happy to help. Let's see, staff. Hey, Ryan. Ryan's on the call. Ryan, Claudio, can you send me the login that I'm looking for? I'll send you a message here, Ryan, in the chat. See if you have it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. So I can help Frankie with this. That one other place I can look while you guys are coming up with your other questions. So guys, for me, cold email outreach is a process, right? Whether you're pitching mommy blogs or any other blogs for sponsored links or guest posts, or whether you're using it to prospect in your business, cold email outreach is a process for me that I set up and then I let go. Like I run the process very intuitively and I am crazy. I'm a stickler with it in the short term. All right, I got in. But then long term, like I don't continue to mess with it, right? Like we just run the sequence, and it's an automated process for me once we figure that out. So happy to share with you guys kind of what's working. But me not having the login for a cold email platform, frankly, is like pretty normal, so to speak, because we set it up, we get it working, and then right, like our job as an entrepreneur is to then walk away from it. So I'll share with you guys what's working now. So all right, give me a one in the chat if you would, if you guys can see my screen now, please. All right, great. So we are using QuickMail and have always used QuickMail for our outbound emails for guest posts and sponsored posts. It's the system that my team uses. All the sequences and contacts and all my prospects are in there. So we have played with Prospect Rocket with like new campaigns and new things that we're setting up. And I do like Prospect Rocket because of the ability to do so much more than just cold email outreach, right? There's a lot of like CRM type of capabilities and things like that. But you don't really need those when you're just pitching guest posts or sponsored posts. So that's why I've left. Those are the scenarios or the reasons why I've left everything running inside of QuickMail. Just to answer that, because I know I'll get that. So you can see here kind of some overall stats. You can see outbound emails, how many outbound we sent, how many first touches, how many follow-ups, how many opens, how many clicks, how many replies. So there's just kind of an overview, but really what we're looking for is kind of the nuts and bolts of the sequence. So guys, we run a course teaching this entire process from A to Z, from how do you prospect, people that will accept the pitch, to, how do you clean that list? How do you filter that list? What are the emails that we should use when people respond? How do you actually get them to say yes? And then how do you get content written? Who are the vendors that you use? All to get backlinks for guest posts and sponsored posts for ourselves and for clients. And so I'm going to do you guys a big solid today, and I'm going to share with you guys a bunch of this process. And the reason why is because you guys asked for it, right? No ulterior motive. So you can see here some campaigns. This is the primary campaign, and so this is called general sponsored post. So you guys can see that there's 3 steps in the sequence list. There's 1,405 people that have been assigned to the sequence. You can see out of that, 74% have opened, 9% have clicked, 31% have replied, and I have a 6% bounce. Just looking at this stat, like I would hope my bounce rate would be under 6, really ideally under 5%. A thing that surprises a lot of people when they look at my cold email campaigns is the open rate, right? So you can see 74% of people that have been on this sequence have opened my emails. And then you can see that 74% have opened, right, which is 1,000 people on this campaign. 437 have replied. So guys, this campaign is single-handedly, this one sequence is single-handedly responsible for 437 people that I pitched, a guest post to responding back. So I need you guys to understand, like, that's crazy. Like, if I'm able to turn half of those responses into opportunities for my customers or for myself to do guest posts on, having 200 sites 200 blocks, right, for us to post content to is ridiculous. And folks, at the end of the day, you could be in almost any vertical and crush it with 200 root domains. Does that make sense to everybody? Let me bring up the chat here real quick. I didn't realize how zoomed in I was on my face. Sorry. So like, hey, let me see you guys' comments here. Yeah, crazy open rate, 70% versus 20%. Yeah, my face was really huge. Brett says, just got here. Is there a replay? Brett, there's a replay every Thursday on the YouTube channel. The replay goes out from the Wednesday AMA. Frankie says, can you share the link to the program you have for sale? So Frankie, it's not like a program that's always open. We release it. It's been released, I think, only twice ever, or maybe even once ever. We have kind of a backdoor, Frankie, if you want in though, that we can teach you how to do this stuff. Price is roughly $1,000, I think $997 or $999. And we teach you basically our process from A to Z to get guest posts and sponsored posts. At the end of the day, I believe that guest posts and sponsored posts are the only way to truly scale link building. In today's white hat type of environment, white to gray hat environment, I think that I think it's really the only way to scale it. Unless you got clients with SEO that have huge budgets, it's really hard to spend money on what a lot of SEOs would call like linkable assets, like resource pages or really long pieces of content. Really useful statistics and stuff like that is hard. Like, and frankly, I don't think that it makes sense with the budget to do that in most cases for like a quote unquote local business or small business. When it comes to content marketing for link building, I think that would be the only alternative. And in most cases, I think that it just doesn't make sense cost-wise. Does that make sense to people? Give me a 9 in the chat. Like, it's just too hard, right? Like, I can get guest posts and sponsored posts for all in, you know, anywhere from 50 to $100 a link for DA 30 plus, let's call it links. So super high quality. And you don't need that many for a local business for, you know, them to really stand out and absolutely dominate their competition in terms of linking metrics. So this is the campaign. As you guys can see here, there's some other campaigns in here. I started this one, a little bit of a different angle, I believe. I forget exactly how this one was, but it didn't beat the original. So I did a copy of it, and you can see 433 people we put in. Open rate was a little bit less, click rate was a little bit less, reply rate was 5% less, bounce rate was like the same, and so I stopped running this one. I think this was just like a tutorial that I was doing with the first, this one. Let's see. This campaign was really interesting. So I can walk you guys through this campaign. Let's first though run through this general sponsored post sequence. So I'm gonna walk you guys through the content in here. Please understand, like, I'm giving you guys everything. Like, this is the money. This is what one of the big things that I teach inside the course. So I'm not holding anything back. So subject line is advertising options in the first one. Can we collaborate on the second one, or on the second variation? Let's see. The second step, previous subject line, previous subject line, same for the other one that I'm split testing here. And then the third step, sponsored post on your site, we tested, and previous subject. So we'll walk through the variations here. So step number one, just in terms of comparison, you can see 61% open on both, 7% click on this one, 6 on this one, and reply rate 20% on this one, 24% on this one. So can we collaborate? Actually did better than advertising options. Open rate was the same. Click-through rate was a little better on this one, but we got a much higher reply rate on the other. So I would say like this one was the winner. So advertising, well, let's see, 12% reply rate, 15% reply rate. I mean, they're close. We definitely want more replies than link clicks though. So I would say that this step 2 variation is actually the winner. So can we collaborate? And guys, this is a very wide one. I'll pull this open so that you guys can see exactly what this says as well. So subject line is, can we collaborate? So it says prospect first name. I want to reach out and I wanted to reach out and see what advertising options you have on your site, ... We represent 100 plus clients in our agency and are always looking for quality bloggers to partner with for guest posts or sponsored posts. We'd love to figure out how we can work with you. Thanks for your time. Right? Joe Troyer, founder of, and then we link digital triggers. Simple email, yes. Very simple. All right, so then the follow-up, let's see what's working best. So previous subject, I used on both of them. So I wonder if I'm even split testing anything in here. Let's see. Reply rate 9%, 10%. Yeah, I mean the emails are the same then in the second one. So I'll just show you what this looks like. So again, previous subject is the subject line. So hope this email finds you well. I sent you an email a few days ago, was just curious what advertising options you have on your site. We're looking for guest posts or sponsored posts, right? That's it. Then my email signature. I saw in that email signature too, I don't know if you guys caught it, I put in, my, Web 1 syndication and digital triggers, like 2 companies. Know that was not done on purpose. Like the signature should obviously be the same throughout, right? Like I mess shit up, I'm not perfect, but I get things into action very quickly, right? So third step, we can see here 55% open rate on this top one. My reply rate 13% versus 12%. So this is the one that's winning, right? Sponsored post on your site is working the best. So we can take a look at this. So again, sponsored post on your site is the email subject line, and it says, sorry for the persistent follow-up. I need to get a sponsored post or guest post slated in the calendar for our client in the next 3 days. Do you accept guest posts or sponsored posts? Appreciate your help. Hoping we can work together. Right, that's quite literally it. So again, this brought in 437 responses. So let's see, does that help, Frankie? And anybody else too, obviously. If you have questions on the sequence, don't hesitate to ask. Frankie says yes. All right, so one little tip here, Frankie, too, that's been working. I offer to sponsor people's posts because then the binoculars or the I don't know, the angle changes when I offer to pay. Now people aren't so critical about the content that we write. And folks, like the content's okay, but it's not great. So when I offer to sponsor it, I get a whole lot more people saying yes, number one, right? Then number two is also that they aren't then as picky with the content that I write. So that's key. One thing though that's been working for us lately, one little tip that we've been playing with, and it's a trick that I can't really take credit for. It's a tip that I got from a friend of mine that I was interviewing that's going to be on the podcast release here soon, if you haven't seen it already. And he shared one little nugget, and that was when people say yes for a sponsored post and then they give you the price, just respond back and say, hey, actually, my client would actually fit in this blog post that you already wrote, and just give them a URL to one of their existing blog posts. And then say, how much would it cost just to put in a link to them, on this post, and give them the link and give them the anchor text. And so what you've done is now you don't have to write the content, or you don't have to pay to outsource the content. You don't have to pay an editor to review the content. And you also don't have to wait for that long timeline of writing the content, then sending it to, the blogger, whether it's a mommy blog or any type of blog, and then they have to go manually put in that post, import all the images, do all the formatting, right? Put in your links. Like, they can skip 90% of that. That is huge. Yeah, microscope was the word. Yeah, that I couldn't think of. Blonde moment there, guys. I am blonde. Um, so that's a little tweak, and it's something that we are playing with for sure. For us, lately we've been focused a lot on content and on that side of things, and trying to get our cost down on the content. We used to use a vendor that would charge us 25 bucks for a piece of content that we use for these guest posts and sponsor posts. And it was great, right? Because the cost was high, but they had really good editors. And I'd just say, here's the blog that we're doing the piece of content on. Here's the idea or the topic that we pitched them that they said yes to, right? And they would figure out the rest of the details. Like, they would write the piece. And that was great, but that's a big significant piece of the budget, 25 bucks. So now we have people writing the content, and we are staying on top of them. We found writers that we're outsourcing to, and we have to kind of become the editor now. And the content's a lot cheaper. It's like $5 an article, but then we have to edit it as well. So let's say that the cost is $10 even with editing included. So that's great. And I thought that that was a huge win, right? Going from 25 to 10. But the bigger win is just getting them to, to update a blog post on their site, and we're able to get that link, placed a lot faster. And then we don't have any costs for writing content. Frankie says, I found 400 mommy blogs with emails. Is that enough to get started? Yeah, man. I mean, look at my stats, right? Like, you have them. Right? So 1,034 opens. So we dumped 1,405 prospects in here. We had 1,000 open, and we had 437 replies. So what I'd look at if I were you is copy my sequence, right? Don't reinvent the wheel. And you should have roughly, this translates into a third, right? A third to a quarter of your prospects reply, right? So if you got 400 mommy blogs, you should get 100 of those to get you a response. And out of that, you should be able to negotiate, 75 of them to kind of a deal that's good for you and that's good for them. Awesome, man. Hopefully that helps, brother. Let's see. Yes, just the yes was huge. Okay, great. He must have used Scrapebox to search for the term mommy blog and related titles. So we don't use Scrapebox anymore. You can definitely use Scrapebox. There's all kinds of tools out there that you guys can use. We developed something that's a little proprietary to us, that we haven't ever really released besides beta for people inside the Backlink Outreach Masterclass program. But yeah, Scrapebox would work. Any tools like that where you can put in, you want to be able to put in your search phrases, right? They're looking for guest posts and sponsored posts and footprint, so to speak, for that. And then also add, in addition to that, keyword phrases that would identify specifically the type of niches that you're going after. And for me, it's really about mommy blogs. Cool. Yeah. So Frankie says he hired somebody to do the scraping for him. Yeah. So good stuff. You're very welcome, brother. Get that up and running. Let me know how it goes. All right. All right. All right. Good stuff. Frankie says he pays $4.50 for 500 words. Yeah, that works in. Yeah, I'm curious, Frankie. Does that cover somebody else editing it, or is that separate? All right. All right. What's up, John Gill? Good to see you. Yeah, separate. Okay. All right, all right. All right, so Austin Lawrence has a question. So Austin says, how do you recommend doing the map embeds for a two-location site for GMB? Do I need to put the embeds on individual pages instead of the footer section? Also, what about the two different phone numbers? Yeah, so if I were you, I would put the NAP, the name, the address, the phone number, the website URL, obviously, and then I would also put in the excuse me, I would also put in the map embed. And let's say that the footer of the website, I would just put it in there. And let's say it's like a 4-column footer, right? Like you got an about or something like that. For example, you got like some type of secondary navigation that's got all your privacy policy and links you don't want in the top navigation because they're just distractions, right? And then I would have in the third and fourth column, I would put one location, then the second location. And again, I do name, address, phone number, website URL, and then I would put in the map embed right below it. That's how I would do it. Yep, and then I would have two very specific. I would have two very specific location pages for each that would stick out. So I'd have a West Palm Beach location page, and then I would have a Fort Lauderdale location page. I hope that helps, Austin. All right, let's see here. Austin says, "Okay, thanks. You're very welcome, brother. Glad I was able to help." All right, that was an easy one. I'm cruising through the chat. I think I'm about all caught up. Do, do, do. All right, Austin Lawrence. I've got a couple of clients with new sites, and I'm responsible for GMB primarily, so Google My Business rankings primarily. Do you think that the SynWire is still? Do you think SynWire is still a good tool for content distribution and building initial links? What other sources besides citations, driving directions, etc., would you recommend for new websites to try to rank for GMP? Yeah. So I don't want this tutorial to be too long, but just today, I believe, on YouTube, we dropped a tutorial on SynWire. So this video right here, 2 tips for getting the best results with SynWire. I would definitely look at that. I definitely think that SynWire is still worth its weight in gold. I think that a lot of people use it incorrectly though, and I think that a lot of people use it to the point of like limiting return, so to speak. So definitely still do SynWire. Definitely still do citations for GMB. Definitely do map embeds and driving directions. Okay. But then after that, you should be doing, well, in the combination of that, we got to cover like the basics, right? So you need to be doing a full GMB website or a full GMB build out to really optimize the entire thing. Fill that whole sucker out, right? Geotag your images, make sure you got as many categories in there that are appropriate for that business, and do a good job just building it out. I would say then also posting to the Google My Business listing every day you should be doing, just like you would post to social media often. Then after those things are done, then next up I would say is on-page SEO. So on-page SEO, I believe, is a big component of ranking inside of Google My Business, right? So you'll see often in Google Maps, and it seems like this shows up sometimes and then it doesn't. For some search queries, it does. For some search queries, it doesn't. It seems like it's not always on, but sometimes you'll see, like when you do a search, you scroll down into Google Maps and it says like this website contains whatever it is that you searched for. Have you guys seen that? Give me a 9 in the chat if you've seen that, right? Right inside the Google My Business listing. let's say that you searched for, gluten-free pizza, right? Then in Google My Business, it's like this website says Google My Business, or it says this website says gluten-free pizza. Have you guys seen that? Frankie says, yeah. So I truly believe that, and especially as you do more and more long tail keyword searches, it's gonna show things like that more often. I believe. I think that on-page optimization is a very overlooked feature or necessity, a ranking factor for Google My Business. So definitely do on-page optimization. You want to make sure that you're talking about the different types of services that they offer, right? If it's a restaurant, the different types of food, get their menu on the homepage, right? Anything that you would want to rank for should be on the homepage in text. Obviously, then you got to make sure that you optimize your title tags, your meta descriptions, and that you do some very basic on-page optimization as well with heading tags, H2s, H3s, right? Get like we talked about earlier on this call. Get in your NAP, your name, your address, your phone number, right? And get in links as well, right on the home page to your location pages. So that would be, what was it, like step 5 is really that on-page optimization. And then frankly, and I say frankly a lot, my team gives me such a hard time for it. Frankly, all that's left, see, I did it again. All that's left then at that point is link building. And so you start to run out of things that are truly scalable, right? By all means, you could do things like really good content and then outreaching in the local community to try to get links back to that content, but it's just not that scalable after that, right? So guest posts and sponsored posts is then typically kind of where I would go next. Cool. Frankie says this webinar is gold already. Don't post this on YouTube, Joe. Sorry, man, it's going on YouTube. Derek says, don't sweat it, frankly. Yeah. It's cool though. So Rob Warner and I have, we've been like trading expressions. So he says, what's he say? How the devil are we? Right? Whenever I talk to him in the morning, I'm like, hey man, how's it going? He's like, how the devil are we? So now like, he says, hey, how's it going? How are you? And I'm like, hey, how the devil are we? And we started like, catching each other saying the same things all the time. And so now the other person starts saying, and it's just like a super funny mind, game that we've been playing with each other. Great tips, thanks. You're very, very welcome. In terms of local link building, the only other thing that I think is like truly scalable, besides what we just talked about earlier in this AMA with like sponsored posts, is, and it's not as scalable, but for me, it's the only thing that I found that is really scalable, is go take a drone or hire somebody in the local area to take a drone, right, and get footage of all the tourist destinations, and all of the kind of real estate type of destinations in the area. So you got to be careful with like schools and drones. I would stay away from those. Parks though, even big churches in the area, you could say, as well, like tourist destinations, but get drone footage of those, right? Then in your outreach, you can outreach to people that have pictures on their sites of those locations, and you can offer them better images and better photos that they have. And all that you're asking in exchange is when they use the images, right, these high quality, amazing images that you're offering them for free, right, that they give you credit for those images right below the image, right? And you just cite the source of where you got this, and that'll be your client's site. So I've done videos on this before, walking you guys step by step how to do that. But those are the only two kind of really big, more scalable things. I believe for link building, when you're getting paid lower levels of revenue for your services. At the end of the day, I get hammered for saying at the end of the day. Yeah. Cool. All right, guys. So I cleared that one up. We still got a little bit of time here. So looking through the questions, I think I got them all. Austin, I got you. Got both your questions about that. I think we're good there. If you got a follow-up question, man, let me know. Right, John. John Gill. Let me see if I see a first part of your question. No, I don't. All right, so John Guild says, I have leads, offers, some email messages, and I'm listing best prospects. Next step is to find good email addresses and send to them. I want the prospects to respond by email. What's missing? So good. So what's missing is I think that first and foremost, if you haven't yet, I would try to narrow down your prospects to a niche. Um, I would then either lead one of two ways, either with like my expert consultant angle, and that relies on you having case studies and examples and social proof that you can use. And so that angle is I'm an expert at this, see these results, can I help you with this? Is the overall arcing theme. Then the other angle that you could use if you don't want to use that in terms of outreach and the messaging is kind of like the go giver angle, right? Is the foot in the door angle. I found this issue, I found this opportunity, and here's why it's a big deal. I'd be happy to help you out, right? Jump on a call with me here. So John, it seems like the only thing that's missing is kind of your outreach angle or approach. Does that make sense, man? And then ultimately, you need the best offer that you can possibly get, and an offer that really solves the problem that the prospects have. What's up, David Curtin? David says, how to get multiple footprints for same keyword for landscaping businesses. David, I'm not sure what you mean by that, but if you can extrapolate a little bit or rephrase that, I'm happy to help you, brother. Yes, John says that helps. Thanks. You're very welcome, brother. Happy to help. Just starting at the top in terms of questions, I'm going to run through it again, make sure we got everything here. All right, so Jamie, sorry I didn't see your question earlier. Jamie says, you've worked in a ton of lead gen niches. I know one of your favorites is water damage remediation. I live in a coastal area, and those guys are all swamped and not wanting more leads. What are your next 2 to 3 favorite lead gen niches? Good ROI, easy to close, etc. Excuse me, first and foremost. Sorry about that. Are your water damage people really too busy though? Right? You say that they're swamped and that they don't want more leads. What I found in the water damage restoration, remediation type of verticals, Jamie, is that for those guys, it's feast or famine. And what I mean by that is like when it rains, it pours, right? When they're busy, they are busy and they are like, could be a natural disaster. It could be lots of flooding, right? It could be like a whole city was flooded. And so there's just jobs everywhere and everybody needs them. Could be that the power went out and then there was flooding, right? And they are either like so busy that they're having to turn away work, or the opposite has happened. And what I mean by that is they like can't get any business. So it's feast or famine mode all the time in that vertical. So what I found is that people in that vertical, are very open to advertising because they never want to be in that famine type of mode. And many of them have been through that famine type of mode multiple seasons and multiple times even throughout a year or throughout their history as a business. And it sucks because when they go through those famine type of stages, right, like they have to let go of their team, right? They obviously can't pay them if they're not working, if they're not on jobs. And that's obviously, you start to deal with some emotion there, and emotion makes people buy. People don't want to have to fire their team, right? The same team that's working around the clock to help them when they're busy, right? Quite literally a month or 2 months later could be let go because there's no work. So I haven't found that water damage companies or restoration companies don't want more leads. That's not been the sentiment that I've gotten selling to them and helping lots of marketers sell to them as well. So that's water damage. That goes as well with mold and kind of the entire restoration space. Other niches, so to speak, like for me, the criteria is pretty simple. Like I want to be able to get to somebody pretty easily. So you might be able to look at your vertical, you might be able to look at your relationships, Jamie, and say like, I have a strategic relationship with this person, and this person has access to an entire vertical. So I was speaking with a gentleman a week ago yesterday, and he has a really interesting in with trailer home parks. Yeah, trailer home parks. Crazy niche. When you're in the trailer home park business, like owning the trailer home parks, you're not really in that business. What business are you in? Give me some feedback in the chat. What business are you in? You're in the real estate business, right? You're owning property. That's where it is. It's a real estate investment kind of play. So he has a unique into that industry. And for him, because of that, he knows the numbers. It makes sense to him, and he has an in. For me, I would never even consider that niche. I wouldn't even think about it. I could drive past, and I don't, but I could drive past a trailer home park every day, and I could not think about that vertical. So it's very easy, I feel like, for people to think about a niche and for them just to pick like something obvious or something that they hear talked about all the time. If I were you, I would think about what are the connections and what are the ins and what are the relationships that you have, because he was telling me about this, and like he's got a one-to-many type of relationship in that vertical. He knows one of the key suppliers and key vendors in that relationship that I would say 90% of these trailer home park companies or corporations across the entire United States use. And I would probably say internationally as well. And they all need marketing. And essentially, they're like apartments. They need to fill their units, right? So that they can make the return that they're looking for on that real estate and cash off the real estate investment, right? So that then, they can have that equity stream coming in and it's paid off. So I would think about like your unique scenario of ins and relationships, and think about that one-to-many card, because that one-to-many thing is, and don't get obsessed with it, but it's crazy. Like if you could make that relationship happen in a one-to-many type of scenario, like this example, that guy has $1 million business sitting below him if he can make one deal just happen, right? If he can make a pitch to that supply company, that vendor that services all of these home parks, trailer home parks, then he's got $1 million business quite literally overnight and doesn't need to build any other business, right? Like, and could just be in that one vertical. So if I were you, I would think about what are those kind of leverage points, those one-to-many type of sales as well. And then I would think about as well a criteria should be, do you like the niche, right? Are you going to get sick of it? I know that a lot of people ask about niches, and some people that have been in the space for a while, like they ignore the niches conversation. And I'd really suggest that you don't, right? Pick a lane, stay in your lane. If you want to pick 2 or 3 lanes to play around, right, to and until you can then focus down to one, that's fine. But pick a lane and stay in your lane and become the expert in that business. Your workload is gonna drop, by 75% because you know how to prospect, you know the messaging, you know the fulfillment, you know the keywords for SEO, you know how to optimize, you know what kind of content to write. Everything just becomes a rewrite, right? You know what offers work, you know what landing pages work, and it's quite simply you put somebody in the same system over and over and over again versus recreating the system, right? Was working with a guy that's becoming a really good friend of mine, business wise and personally, and he's got over 200 clients in the same vertical. 200. 200. Like that's freaking crazy. I can't even think about that, right? 200 agency SEO, not agency. He's got 200 SEO marketing clients in one vertical. Now, the only way that you could get to that level and scale, I believe, is by focusing on a vertical, right? Think about the work that would be involved if you were in multiple verticals. I don't think you could do it. I don't care how big your team is. Like, I'd want to pull my hair out. And I've been in those types of scenarios, right? When I built my last agency to just over $84,000 a month, meaning it was over $1 million in annual recurring revenue at that run rate, we were helping just home services businesses, but we were helping multiple verticals inside of home services. And when I look at that business, I'm like, man, like if I would have just concentrated it on one vertical instead of like 4 under home services, would have been able to nail the messaging that much better. Our fulfillment process would have been way more repeatable. It would have cut down on 75% of the documentation and the change, and we would have had so many less mistakes. And I believe at the end of the day, my exit valuation number probably would have been doubled if I would just stuck in one lane. So I think if you haven't chose a niche and if you haven't verticalized, if you're not staying in your own lane, so to speak, I think you're missing the boat. Sorry for the rant, but I think it's important. I kick myself in the ass every day for not being more focused in my agencies on a vertical or two. Did that help? Any aha moments there? And Jamie, those are some of the kind of criteria and some things to think about. Let's see. Yeah, so George says, you have always been a proponent of, and this will be the last question unless I see something else. George says, you've always been a proponent of owning your assets through pay-per-call model, etc. Where do you stand as it relates to that with retargeting, PPC services, etc., and how would that work? Yeah, so good question. So George, I still think that at the end of the day, you need to look at your business in terms of assets, right? Like, and far too many people in the agency space don't. I just gave you guys an example with multiple niches, right? If you're really going after multiple niches and you're getting every customer by happenstance and you don't have proven prospecting methods, right? Is that an asset? No, right? Like it's really a liability. Um, and when you go to sell your company, they're going to look at that and they're going to be like, yeah, this isn't good, right? Your valuation is going to suck. So for me, I look at assets differently now than I have. I look at my prospecting method and me being an expert and my company being an expert in a niche is an asset. I look at my prospecting method that works and that I can pick up and I can drop into a business. That's an asset. Then, from prospecting and a system to take that person from a prospect to a paying customer, That's an asset that I can drop into the business, right? Then my service delivery, like how we actually get customers results. And you guys can, that service delivery can be lots of different things, right? You can craft your own. Don't be limited necessarily to thinking like that can only be things that I talk about. That can be whatever you want, right? For me, it's Google search, because that's where I've always been, is a very Google search focused company. And for me, it's because I don't want to have to convert a visitor, right? I want the visitor to already have intent and be ready to do business, not me to try to have to convert them for a prospect. So I don't think that you can get a customer that's closer to the end of the buying cycle than through Google search. So that's why search for me is huge, whether it's PPC or it's Google My Business or it's SEO. That's why I love search. So your package and your service offering could very much be PPC, it could be search, it could be maps, it could be a combination of that. It could be retargeting, it could be Facebook ads, it could be some type of geo conquesting, it could be email marketing. It, like, folks, you could fill that up however you want, but that service delivery is an asset, right? You figuring that out, that becoming an asset is how I would look at it. But then after that, you really have like retention is another piece of the business that's an asset, and that's how I look at it. So how do you future pace, and how do you retain customers? How do you make them feel like you are always on the bleeding edge, and that you know what's working and those things are being implemented into their marketing campaigns? Because that's how you keep customers, right? And that you're going to bat for them, and that you know what's going on. Who knows the number one reason why agencies lose customers? What's the number one reason why agencies lose customers? You guys know? Indifference. Indifference. And so what that means is they just don't understand what you're doing for them. Your communication sucks. They don't know if you're really helping them, hurting them. They don't know what kind of time you're investing, what kind of results you're getting. They don't know that you really care, right? And so at the end of the day, retention is a huge play. And I think that that's an asset that you need to leverage as well. Okay. So I think that we just went through 4 or 5 assets that you have in your business, but they're systems, they're processes that really build up your business. Now I get that that's very different than pay per call and you owning the website, right? I get that. But the whole business becomes an asset when you have those systems and processes, because you're building this thing in a way that you can build it, scale it, and ultimately, if you'd like to, sell it. Okay, so the business is a sellable asset. And at the end of the day, I would say 95% of agencies, social media agencies, coaches, consultants, or marketing agencies, whatever you want to call our category, 95% of us don't start with the end in mind, and that's exiting and having a business that's worth something. And so we never build assets in our business ever. That's a problem, right? So I love your question, George, because it's like you used to be so obsessed with building assets with pay per call. Now, like, you don't talk about that so much. You're kind of in a different headspace. And this is how I look at it. But that doesn't mean that I don't do pay per call anymore. I'm not interested in pay per call. For me, if you look at my YouTube channel, you look at the content in the YouTube channel, I've done a lot of content on pay per call lately. I just sell pay per call differently. And at the end of the day, that's a saying that I say a lot too. At the end of the day, I focus on selling pay per call now to my best customers, not my brand new green customers that don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to what is a lead, what's lead quality, what does a lead cost, all of those things, right? I want to build a great impression out of the gate. I want to build a relationship that is going to last the stand of time with that business. I want them to value me, and I need to build a big average customer value with that customer. And leading, I found, with lead gen or pay per call is not the right way to do that. At least how all of us had been selling pay per call before. And so if you want more info on that, there's lots of training on that on the YouTube channel of me talking about pay per call and how to sell it. You can do a quick search in YouTube for best pay per call training ever, and you'll find some of that, for example. I'm sure if you did some searches like how to sell pay per call as well, you'll find my videos ranking all over YouTube for it. So in that scenario, then you can still build another set of assets besides the 4 or 5 that we talked about. You can then build websites, right, for pay per call that are focused on the best of your customer base. When I look at my last pay per call agency that, again, was built very quick, scaled very quick, and was sold, a quarter or so probably of the revenue came from one customer. So I'd rather have a whole lot more of those customers, right, than have to deal with every Tom, Dick, and Harry when it comes to pay per call, right? It's just more complex. It's a different scenario. There's no benchmark. There's no comparison. And so if they're not educated, it just becomes my fault, or it just becomes your fault. It's different. So I believe that, these days, build your business, verticalize, build your business, and then if you'd like to, by all means, add a pay per call component at the back end, right, of your service offering. That is your big ultimate upsell, the big package that everybody can buy, right? And that's where you'll make the most money. That's where you will, that's where your best customers will buy as well. And you'll have 1% of the headaches that you would traditionally with a pay per call business, and you'll get paid to do it the entire way, right? You'll build a 7-figure agency like the entire way, and then you'll have a 7-figure pay per call business versus just a 7-figure pay per call business. Does that make sense? Like, you quite literally can build 2 businesses that way in the same amount of time. George S., does that make sense? Yes, thanks. Good, man. All right, guys, thank you for joining me for yet another AMA. I appreciate you guys being here. Please do me a favor, ask a question, right? Go to digitaltriggers.io/AMA, and I'm acting like I'm typing. Register for this call, and then on the thank you page, you guys will have a link there to ask a question. Please ask a question so I can answer it next time. I started prepping for next week's slides already, next week's AMA, and I'm going to be going through and kind of talking about the top pieces of software and systems and processes that we use inside of my businesses. And again, these are the assets. These are the things that I drop into my businesses that I get set up, I get working, and then I can just continue to copy and paste them, so to speak, in every business that I build and that I run. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. I hope that you guys got a ton of value out of it. And please let me know when you take the stuff that I gave you and you swiped it, you deploy it, and you go make some money with it, man. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about, and that's why I'm here each and every Wednesday hanging out with you guys. Have a freaking fantastic week. I'll talk to you guys soon. Joe Troyer signing out.